So, welcome to another episode of Clarity TV. My name is Dolores Hirschmann, your hostess. And today, I don't know, is it a plane? Is it a bird? It's not. It's founder and CEO, Super Julie. We have Super Julie in the house today. And Super Julie is also known as Estee, helps millions of folks get the career they deserve through edutainment. And I don't know what that is, but we'll figure that out. Edutainment program. So Julie, or Super Julie, Estee, welcome to Clarity TV and Masters in Clarity.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking to you today, Dolores.
In this hot summer day, right? I'm like, my poor dog back there is like dying.
Well, I'm in Seattle, Washington, so actually it's a little dreary here today, and it's maybe going to get 70 degrees.
So enjoy it, because we are.
Yes, exactly. I'm not complaining.
So, Super Julie, I have so many questions and so many things I want to talk about today, but let's start at the beginning, where we always start with the question on Clarity TV is, what is something that you've overcome or that you've lived through that there's a little bit of before and after experience?
Well, one of the things that bubbles up for me is my dyslexia and auditory processing disorder. I wasn't really diagnosed until I was a young adult. I think I was about 16 when I got my first test for dyslexia, but I had lived my whole life thinking that I was stupid. I really, back in the day when I was growing up, people didn't really recognize any sort of disability or quirk. I like to call it the quirk. They immediately categorized you. And I think it kind of set me thinking about education. I was fearful of education. I was scared in school because I was always worried I was going to get called on. I was going to be made fun of. And so as I got older and I started to understand that, okay, I'm different. One of the things that happened to me, Dolores, is I developed this side of my brain, which is all about process. And because of that, now the thing that I used to be embarrassed of, the thing that I was ashamed of, I now wear like a badge of honor. It taught me how to basically create the formula for anything.
So let me make sure I understand this right. So what I'm saying is that every time you hit that wall, whether it was in second grade reading test or senior year or junior year SAT, I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Argentina, so I didn't have to do the SAT.
Yeah.
Thank God. But any of those, which for most kids, it's just part of growing up, right? Not a big deal. Yes, you might be lazy, might not feel like doing it, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't stay in you. For each one of those micro moments, you hit a wall first.
Yes.
And then teach the creative side of your brain to say, okay, this way, to do this the traditional ways is not going to happen.
Right.
How do I go around it?
Yes.
So you're like the go around it lady.
Yes. Yes. And when I figure out all the steps and all the things to do, I'm very process oriented. So everything is a step. So step number 1, do this. Step number 2, do that. And I talk about cupcakes all the time. I think you know this about me.
Yeah, what's with cupcakes? Is there one cupcake in particular?
Well, I love cupcakes. I love the red velvet cupcake with like that tangy cream cheese frosting on the top. What's your favorite cupcake?
Lemon. Anything to do with lemon.
Ooh, oh, you made my mouth water just saying the word. So a cupcake has the same ingredients. Your cupcake and my cupcake have a lot of the same ingredients, the same foundational ingredients. But then there's different flavors and there's different frostings and there's different ways to present it. And that's the thing that we always have to kind of figure out when we create something that's a little bit different. But basically, we're just baking cupcake after cupcake after cupcake after cupcake. And we put together a program that is baking cupcakes. You know, we're helping people get a job, but there might be some different ingredients with different groups of people.
Yeah. So yeah, what I'm hearing is that, you know, this childhood long and into adulthood training has helped you create these processes or recipes, if you want to use a cupcake analogy.
Yes.
And that right now you've put that brilliance that you have to work in service of people looking for a job. So this leads me to the next question, which I think you started to answer, because it's kind of what we're talking about, is what is your, I call it the common denominator thing, like the thing that has been with you over and over and over again. And if you think about it, it is what has helped you overcome some challenges. And you've already answered, right? This looking at a problem and understanding that to solve the problem the traditional way is not your way. And so you go into the, what's the recipe for this situation?
You just asked such a great question. No one's ever asked me this before. So my entire body has, every hair on my body, every little hair is standing on end right now. They're all standing at attention, saluting you. The common denominator, I think, is empathy, vulnerability. So when I understand the problem and the pain and the fear and the frustration, then I am able to solve it. But in a way, I have to kind of put myself in the situation of the person. Maybe it's me, I'm having to solve my own problem, so I use my empathy on myself and I use my own vulnerability. But if I'm trying to solve someone else's problem, I'll give you an example. We will be creating a program for people coming out of prison. So when we create a program called, I don't know, formerly incarcerated individuals, how to get a job in 12 weeks, one of the things that I have to do is I have to go to the place of pain. And I have to say to myself, how embarrassing would it be to have to go to prison and to be locked up and to lose my freedom and to be embarrassed and maybe ashamed of what I had done, or whatever the situation is, to put myself in those shoes and to really kind of go there. And that helps me pull out these amazing ingredients so that when we're trying to help people, we're actually having them get over the obstacles that keep getting in their way.
So let's just shift to that, because you've been doing this for a while and you've been helping people. I know that there's many things you've helped people with, but first of all, you've helped big people, not big people, big organizations.
I have.
I mean, you had a life before this life.
I did.
Tell us about your experience at MTV and Victoria's Secret and Nike. Like, what was that like? And what was that? What did that bring to you and your experience that you're bringing forward?
Yeah, well, I've always worked for, I've worked for a lot of big brands, and I was always putting my creative ability to help companies make more money. And there's nothing wrong with, I don't feel there's anything wrong with commerce.
Your company, every company.
We need it. We need people to have jobs, right? We need to circulate. But after a while of working in creative and having those big jobs and working, you know, in those headquarters of different companies, I kind of lost my shine. And it started feeling a little empty. And I also felt like I was hitting a glass ceiling, being a woman and being different. I'm always, you know, whenever I would get a corporate job, I could always ace the interview. So getting the job was never the problem. But sometimes keeping the job was hard because I'm kind of wackadoodle. And not everybody wants a wackadoodle executive on their team.
Yep. Yep.
And so I think I was probably more diverse thinking than my counterparts. And so I didn't always fit in. In fact, I can really think of maybe one company that I fit in, and that was a small company that was part of Urban Brands. But the bigger companies, I just didn't. I went as far as I could go, and you know, and it brought me to this place of wanting to help individuals.
So let's forward, you know, so let's talk about what you're doing now, and let's start with, you know, we talked about one of the ingredients, empathy, right?
Yeah.
But what is at the core, I call it the core idea, right?
Yeah.
What is the core idea of the service that you provide or the products that you provide today? Let's start with that.
Well, like a cupcake, there's a formula to it. And it's no surprise that we chose how to get a job in 12 weeks. We picked 12 because, well, first of all, I'm in AA. So I'm a former alcoholic. I'm recovering, as everyone likes to say, but I've been recovering for a while now. So I start thinking, well, maybe I don't have to use that anymore, but I'll use it. It works. But we know that building on each week, it's like the cupcake. If you don't start with an amazing foundation, if you don't get those first ingredients right, then everything else is shifting on this. Yeah, exactly.
Flat cake.
Yeah, and you know, I get so excited about cupcakes. When they get hot out of the oven, I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the frosting? And very often I get so excited that I put the frosting on a cupcake that has not rested. And then I got frosting all just like rolling off the side, and it's terrible. Well, same thing with the job. You know, you get into the interview, and maybe you interview really well, and you get super excited, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to accept the job. And then what happens is you forget to negotiate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we know that if you ask one question, Dolores, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll tell you after this. But the one question can get you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 more a year by asking one question.
Well, you've been doing this for a while, so you've proven this question right.
Yes.
That's awesome. And so let me ask you, what are you most excited in the near future or the next year?
Well, you know, I've been thinking about this business for a long time, and we actually have 17 phases, and we're only on phase 1 right now. We're going to create programs for every marginalized, identifiable demographic of people that we can. So we've got about 100 programs that we want to create. Military spouses, we've already created a program for them. We've created a program for trans and gender non-conforming folks because they have a problem getting a job. We're right
so
now.
Those two are already running, and
they're already done.
What's the results? Have they launched or not yet?
Yes, we've launched both of them.
And how's it going?
Well, the military spouse one is well under its way. We have about a 71, 72% success rate.
So 72% of the people sign up get a job in 12 weeks. So if 10 people sign up, 7.
Yes.
2.
Yeah. And you know, awesome. Part of it is on us, but a lot of it's on the other person too, because to show up, they got to do the work.
You can't get someone to lose the weight.
Yeah, exactly. We're too early on the trans and gender nonconforming program, so we're just getting that one underway. But the one that we're working on right now is for college students and recent grads.
That's great.
And we will just, every single group that comes to us, you know, I have a friend, she is an immigrant, and she said, you know, will you create a program for us? And I said, yes. And then I said, you're Muslim. Would it be helpful for us to create a program for Muslims, how to get a job in 12 weeks?
Not immigrants, but Muslims.
Yes. And because what I do is I try to look at every demographic in one human being and say, is there an opportunity there? And she started to cry.
Oh.
And she said, yes, my people, this is how she said it, my people would love to know how to get a job as being a Muslim. And I said, well, we can create a program for that. We can create a program for stay-at-home moms and dads, for people with disabilities, whether it's a physical, intellectual, learning.
And so what we're really talking about is the recipe is the same, but the frosting of presentation is different. And in that frost, so here's the thing. You like red velvet, I like lemon. If I have a bucket of red velvet, I'm not likely to pick one.
Right.
And if you had a bucket, you might, but I mean, if you had a bucket of lemon cupcakes, you might not pick one.
Right.
And so the tweak on the presentation might be slight, but for these people, it means no job.
Exactly.
So this is powerful.
It is. We learned in our trans and gender nonconforming program that one of the biggest worries that those folks have is that they are going to get hurt.
In the job?
In the job.
Wow.
They're worried, they're scared that they're going
to getting any job, getting a safe.
That's right. That's right. Being in a safe and healthy environment where they are honored.
Wow.
And so when we discovered that, when we started learning, and we always align ourselves with someone who is very credible in that area, and we partner with them. So we're partnering with experts in this area so that we can further understand and get the empathy. But what we found out was people are in all different phases of their transition. Very often themselves, they don't know, you know, where they're going to end up. So this is what happened. We determined that privacy was one of the key ingredients that we had to integrate into our cupcake. So we taught everybody how to create a laboratory, we call it a sandbox, a laboratory on LinkedIn. This is a private space where they can create their profile, they can create their persona, they can play in their LinkedIn profile and they can develop their community there that will be welcoming to who they are. And then they can turn it on when they're ready.
Oh, that's awesome.
And when we realized that we created that, then I was thinking, okay, now what if we created a program for people who have been in domestic abuse situations? If privacy is an ingredient that we have to also care about them, then the sandbox again will come into play in making their cupcake.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so excited, and it's just so neat. And the market, even you know, for everybody, the job market is changing really rapidly. Even companies are not sure how to procure talent and what is the best way to do it. Like there's a big kind of a lot of shift. A lot of the pieces of this puzzle is shifting at the same time.
Yes.
And everybody's left a little bit lost. But at the end of the day, the people who really suffer are those that can't feed themselves or the family. And so it's just that's awesome. So let me ask you a question. We are building the Clarity TV library. So what is one book we should all be reading?
I love A Prayer for Owen Meany.
A
Prayer for Owen Meany. It's a book written by John Irving, and it's about a little character. It's one of the books that whenever I read it, I both laugh and cry.
Is it fiction?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. We always get fiction recommendations.
Yeah, and one of the characters is one of the most unique little individuals. And the story, to me, is about how being different can be heroic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I love that book.
I'll add that to our reading list. And but for anybody listening, we do have an active reading list from all of our guests.
I love
So,
that.
if you go to mastersinclarity.com/claritytv, you'll get all of our interviews and the reading list. So Julie, Super Julie, where do people go find you? If anybody's out there looking for a job or has a sister, brother, niece, uncle, aunt, friend who needs a job, where do they find you? Where do they recommend you?
LinkedIn is a great place to find me, but if you want to get into our program, just go to superpurposes.com. We're actually building our website right now, so we have a bunch of pages that are up.
But let's keep one so that it's not confusing. Yeah,
it'll just get people to where they need to be, and our website will be up any minute now, because we will also be creating our library as well in the programs. And after we create all the demographics, the next phase is to create for cities that are distressed.
Wow.
So Detroit, how to get a job in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Baltimore, how to get a job in 12 weeks. So there's no end to the people that we can help. Yeah.
I love it. So if you're looking for a job or you have someone in your life looking for a job, please check out superpurposes.com and check out Super Julie Braun on LinkedIn. And any parting words, anything you want to say before we finish today?
Well, Dolores, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Because you're opening a lot of doors to people to, learn new things. I think it's the thing that makes you remarkable is you are a masterful connector.
Oh, thank you.
And, you've got your wonderful story for people who don't know. I'm just fascinated by you, and I feel so fortunate to be here today. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Well, so if you love this episode, check out mastersinclarity.com/claritytv for more episodes. And Julie, I'll say goodbye for now.
Okay.
We'll see each other again. Bye-bye.
Bye.